The curtain has been finally lifted, and this week, Justin Gainey spoke to the media. What are our thoughts on his vision for the program?
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Happy Saturday to all. We're doing Friday show on a Saturday. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs down in Miami, keeping it funky. We do have a great show for you here on Saturday. Apologies, couldn't get to it Friday. Had a lot going on, but here on Saturday, we'll give you some Fan Friday thoughts. We had a lot of comments over the course of this week. We'll talk about NC State baseball, or I guess the corpse now of NC State baseball. They may, in fact, be on life support today at 2 p.m. at the Doak. We'll talk about that. But here on Saturday, we will start with the vision, the program vision that Justin Gainey shared with the media over the course of this week. I believe it was on Thursday. However, also had some brief availability earlier in the week down at Amelia Island for the ACC spring meeting. One of the first questions that Justin Gainey was asked about was very obviously going to be Paul McNeil. What did it mean to retain Paul McNeil? How big of a deal or a piece he was for this roster? And Gainey said, look, if my vision is going to be retaining and keeping and building North Carolina talent here in this state, then I guess Paul McNeil is going to be my first test. And so I found it interesting, Kenton, that, for the longest, I guess, month, we're like, all right, Paul, what's the deal here? Are you coming? Are you going? What's the problem? Seems to me through Gainey's comments here that Paul was always a priority, never came off of that, in fact, and perhaps Paul was going to run with the pack all along.
It confirms what I was told by my sources inside the program when I was told, like, hey, we got him in the bag. But again, when I came on there, I mentioned it with a grain of salt because we had just been through a situation where I did not have sources on the other side and it went the other way, right? And one thing about me, fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me twice, fool me twice, can't get fooled again. So ultimately, it was a situation where the university felt good about this for a very long time. Justin Gainey and his staff felt good about this for a very long time. I still do stand by the fact that this was a masterful gambit by Gainey and company, because even if the commitment was there, if it's not written down, if you do not have pen to paper, it really doesn't matter, right? I mean, Grayson, you and I were both there when NC State re-signs every single DB, and we're thinking, boy, this team next year, ooh, we go crazy. And quite literally on the last day, within the last couple of hours for the portal to be open, we look up and our DB room is gone. One is at Southern Cal, USC. The other one is at USC, South Carolina. It's just like, damn, is there anything we can do here? So, this was a moment where, like Justin Gainey said, this is for us. This is for us. It was extremely important to keep Paul McNeil here because, ultimately we know what Paul McNeil is. I don't think anybody would have a question of, how good is Paul McNeil? What does he mean to this program? He meant a ton. And so Justin Gainey and staff clearly prioritized him. I was told that they prioritized him. Grayson and I both said, hey, even if we had differences in philosophy on blank check versus, hey, there's a certain amount, there's a cap, we both knew getting Paul McNeil back would be a big time deal. And Gainey and his staff successfully did that. So you need to give them the love, the credit, the respect that you would to match the energy of the vitriol of if they didn't prioritize a Paul McNeil and things ended up in a very different space where it's like, hey, we offered them mid-level starter money and left it there. This was exactly what Wolfpack Nation wanted, and we got it. Now, Paul McNeil, Justin Gainey, time to get to work, brothers. We got it. We got some wins. We got some threes to hit. We got some games to win. Let's get to it.
Yeah, we talk about all the time on here in this new era of, I guess you could call it like disloyalty, the fact that you were able to court Paul to stay here, who does have an elite skill, which is three-point shooting. That is done at an elite level over the course of the entire country. Paul was, I think he's like top 20 in the country in terms of shooting percentage from three, setting program records here at NC State. It was going to mean something to keep a guy of that talent who is from the state of North Carolina, loves being in the state of North Carolina. I don't think that can be overstated or really understated either, but this was a success. Keeping Paul McNeil was a early success for Justin Gainey. And so trying to establish building pipelines within the state, growing the idea that, I always mention what Terquavian Smith, Baby T, said a couple years ago. Basically, you don't have to go to a blue school down the street. You don't have to go to Kansas and Kentucky. If you want to be great and you're from North Carolina, you can do it right here at NC State. The belief that NC State is just a mediocre, English would be awesome, mediocre program, and you have to go elsewhere to really build your game, it's not true. And so Justin Gainey wants to really prove that here with Paul McNeil. And even said as much like, Paul's a great shooter and he did his thing last year, but there's still room that we can build on to him, improve his skill set, probably, namely his defense. And we can go from there, make him an even more well-rounded player. And that's what we're shooting for. So it was nice to get a little bit more of an explanation about the sweepstakes of Paul McNeil. So the loyalty there is obviously much appreciated. Another big question was on the analytical side. Like, how do you value, metrics and how you build out a roster, this type of stuff you want to look there too. Because I think it's some PTSD from last year. Like I remember, was it the VCU game when VCU was lighting us up in the Lenovo Center and somebody asked Will Wade about the 3-point shots. And she's like, oh yeah, like we're giving those up by design. It's funny that like when you want to believe in something, you're willing to look past some red flags. Because I remember when he said that, I'm like, you want to give up those 3-point shots? Those are shots you're fine with giving up. That never made sense to me, but I'm like, all right, well, if everything's analytical, I'm just going to see where this goes. And then, well, I guess we found out the hard way because Texas lit us up, Kansas lit us up, all these other schools around the country that were not really known for the 3-point shooting were lighting us up on a nightly basis. So I'm like, I think I was right to be red flaggish about those 3-point shots. So relying on analytics is important to this game. It's maybe more integrated now than it ever has been, but it can't be everything. You can't only rely on that. You still got to rely on, keeping 2 feet, shuffling the puppies in front of guys, like Kenton likes to say. So Gainey basically alluded to the fact that they will use analytics in the work that they do. And he talked about Patrick Stacey being retained. And it seemed like that was not, set in stone right away, but Stacey's work ethic and creating relationships with not just Gainey, but the other guys on staff, it became obvious to Gainey that Stacey's a guy that he wanted to keep here. And so Patrick Stacey becoming now the GM of NC State basketball and all the analytical side that he's built out with Jam Basketball, his own software. Clearly, they will rely on analytics, but they're still going to, have to rely on sweat equity as well.
All things in life require balance. All things in life work on sort of a bell curve. There are very few things that exist on the extremes of the bell curve just as it exists. Like any amount of this is too much. And the deal is, you and I both talked about this ad nauseum last year in terms of, hey, we're going to see where this goes because these are, Power 4 basketball coaches who get paid millions of dollars. Their checks have multiple commas, quite literally, or like multiple numbers after the first comma. Like that's what they're getting per check. They're doing it pretty big. So who are we to question it? But at a point, it also got down to, okay, you see the strategy is not working. You see the analytics are not working. I get it, right? I get it as much as anybody. Hey, sometimes you will have aberrations in when you trust the analytics or when you trust certain things. There's a difference between an aberration and a general rule. There's a difference between this has happened once or twice. This is the abnormal. This is the outlier in the data set versus the data set is clustered in this way. And that's where it started to turn to. It started to turn to a data set that was clustered by Melvin Council, that was clustered by Texas third shooter, that was clustered by Seton Hall shooters, where you're like, okay, this is game after game after game after game. At what point do we address this? So Justin Gainey and his staff are a breath of fresh air. Yes, you cannot take away everything all the time. Yeah, you only got 5 guys on the court, but the mentality of we will defend every single shot, that's got to count for something. That's got to mean something. And for contrast, our defense last year, pretty bad. We can all acknowledge that. It was not good. It was at best, at our best clip, middle of the road, right? Justin Gainey's worst defense while at Tennessee was 14th in the nation. That was their drop-off year. That was their fall-off, oh my God, the sky is falling year. Every year other than that, of the hundreds, literal hundreds of Division I basketball programs, top five. And no, ladies and gentlemen, I am not referencing Dylon from the Dave Chappelle skit. They were just top 5 over and over and over again. So when you look at what Justin Gainey is bringing from that defensive standpoint, and you say, well, what's the balance of analytics and that boy nice, right? Like there's two different sides of
Which
this
is a
thing.
real metric, by the way.
It's a real metric. And sometimes you need to go with that boy nice metric to get what you need to get. But again, it's all about the bell curve, right? It's all about that bell curve of, hey, we need more of this. We need more of the, okay, we got the optimal amount of this. All right, we got too much. We got to slow it down. Stop. That's what we're looking at here. And so ultimately, I think that Justin Gainey and his staff have already proven themselves to say, like, hey, analytics is going to be a part of it. There's going to be some that boy nice in there. There's going to be some analytics. There's going to be some roll the ball out to Paul, go get us a basket. Roll the ball out to Preston, go get us a hoop. Roll the ball out to Hammond, go get us a hoop. There's going to be those moments.
And last point I want to hammer home here. He was asked about, how important is it in building a roster that you're finding guys with multiple years left of eligibility? Because there's a thought that, this is a year-to-year process. You're rebuilding roster every single year. But on the other side of that thought, it's much easier to try and retain your guys rather than go out and build a new team every year. Like you'll see, not just in basketball, but football and baseball too, some of the most successful teams on a year-to-year basis are retaining a lot of guys. Team chemistry, it can really not be understated. So there was a quote here from Gainey. It says, quote, with the portal and everything, nothing's guaranteed, but I firmly believe that if you're here in this program and you get to run out in front of 19,700 at the Lenovo Center, you walk around town and everyone knows who you are, and you feel the pride at being at NC State, you'll want to be here, unquote. So he's hammering home the point that he wants to build a program. Those are also his words. He's building a program, not just a year-to-year basketball team. He wants to find guys that want to be here at NC State, build this program at NC State, and that's establishing yourself. That's something I've talked about here for the longest time. The idea that it can't be done at NC State. There's too much talent elsewhere in the state of North Carolina. We're in the blue jerseys. No, it can be done here. This can be a destination spot. And so that's what Justin Gainey is trying to do. He's trying to find players with multiple years of eligibility. You look at Ed Mead, who was just a freshman last year, lighting it up at Hofstra. Hammond, same thing, multiple years. Darius Adams, multiple years. Zamika Wilkins, multiple years. There's a plan there that you want to build a core of guys that have a lot of talent, unproven still to a certain degree, but if they pop this year, if they win this year, you will very quickly become maybe a destination spot for other talent in the portal next year. So great comments from Gainey. It's nice to hear from Coach Gainey because after a while, like I said, it just seems like a figure operating behind a curtain. He is a real coach, and he is now our coach, and it was great to hear some thoughts from him over the course of this week. Coming up next, we're going to talk some NC State baseball. Sad as it is, we'll cover what has happened so far this weekend, dropping not one, but 2 games at Dirty Foot Club and what that might mean over the course of the next week. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Friday sponsor on a Saturday is Rocket Money. If you've ever opened up your bank account and thought to yourself, where the heck is all my money going? Well, if you have thought that, you're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get very overwhelming very quickly. But that is where Rocket Money comes into play. They help you take control of your finances all in one singular place. It will track your subscriptions in one spot and help you cancel the ones that maybe you forgot about or didn't even know you were still paying for. It automatically categorizes your spending so you'll actually see where your money is going from month to month, and you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of each and every one of your upcoming bills. It will simply make everything more organized and give you a clear picture of your finances from day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that will help you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, and help you lower your bills to help grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's LOCKEDON, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, middle portion of our Saturday live show. Again, appreciate all of you for joining us on Saturday. NC State baseball entered this weekend series with the Dirty Foot Club. They were down on the mat. They had to win this series, or at least, I guess, at bare minimum, maybe take just one game. We'll see what they can do today at 2 p.m., but ugly start, to say the absolute least. You get your doors blown off on Thursday evening. You get your doors blown off even more on Friday evening, 9-4 loss on Thursday, 17-7 loss last night at the Doak. Game 3 will be today in Kenton. I firmly believe if they cannot win that game, they will not be in the NCAA tournament.
I mean, Grayson, what do you want me to say here? Okay,
something good. Tell me something good.
The thing is this. Okay, the something good out of this. Elliot Avent has had an extremely storied career, and he's been given the respect and the loyalty by the university, and I don't think his players are quitting on him. So that's something good. I mean, Grayson, you and I both watched these games, as painful as it may have been the past couple of days, and I think we can agree they're playing hard. They're playing hard, right? Maybe not playing smart all the time, right? Yep. Maybe some of our pitching is questionable at best, but I would say they have not quit on Elliot Avent. But the reality is, this looks like the Erie Seawolves playing against the Los Angeles Dodgers. For those of you who don't know, the Erie Seawolves are in AA baseball, okay? Not even AAA. They're in AA baseball. And they're, and obviously we know about the Dodgers and what their payroll and how every time you look up and there's a new star, the Dodgers are just sitting over there putting their finger together saying, oh, yeah, he's going to come over here. Well, right now that's what the Dirty Foot Club is looking like against us. That's what they're looking like. Everything that they want, they're getting it. They're getting every single thing that they want. They're getting it offensively. We can't buy it out. And so with that being said, Grayson, I think he's being optimistic saying the team is on life support. I think at this point in time, everybody's coming in and getting their last hugs from Granny before she goes back into the arms of the Lord. That's what I see happening. I see Granddad having his last hurrah where he takes out the trash one last time. And you say, sit down, Granddad. He's like, no, I got it. And he's mustering up every bit of energy he's got. Because after this, ain't no more grass cutting. And no more watching the game while he's sleeping, saying, no, I was resting my eyes. I'm watching that. He's gone. That's what this team looks like. Again, I'm not mad at just the losing. Like, obviously, you never want to lose, period, especially not to the Dirty Foot Club. Grayson, tell me if I'm wrong. This looks like two different levels of teams.
Yes.
It just does. And how do you look at that and say, I want to see this again next year? I want to see this repeated again. And credit to the Dirty Foot Club. They're a damn good team this year. Good team. Last time they lost the series was early March against Virginia or something like that. Yep. Like that. That's a really good team. But this, you can't. Again, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of speculation about Elliot Avent and his contract not being extended but being up at the end of the season. I think it's time, man. I think it's time.
Yeah, I mean, to Kenton's point, the Dirty Foot Club is an elite, as painful as that is to admit. They are an elite college baseball team this year. They are one of the top 5 pitching staffs in the country. Their offense is pretty good most of the time. They really just rely on a lot of great pitching and great defense to get the job done. But they're a great team. Now, the problem with that, kind of extending Kenton's point, is NC State doesn't look competitive, and that should never be the case. We have somewhat equal talent to them. We're obviously missing our top 2 arms in Duden and Marone. And, I mean, as we kind of understand, once that had occurred for this team, the rest of the season has more or less gone out the window. I mean, they weren't dead when that happened, but to watch the slow decline of a team that I still believe there has a lot of talent on, both offensively and on the mound. Defense this week has been a total crapshoot. I mean, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot with the way we've played out in the field. The at-bats, in terms of quality at-bats, quabs, if you will, it's been very hit or miss. I just don't think we're playing a smart game of baseball, especially lately, but specifically this weekend. And so, yeah, I think there's reason to believe that maybe you could win today and it still wouldn't matter because the RPI for State right now, it's pretty much shot. I mean, we're in the mid-50s, if I'm not mistaken. That's not where you want to be. You're reaching the point. Well, you've already reached the point where you are leaving your postseason fate in the hands of the NCAA committee. How many times has that been the case and it's not worked out well for us? So what has this team done lately? Well, you beat Miami in the 3-game series, but outside of that, you've been kind of floundering around now for the better part of like a month and a half. So it doesn't look great. It's painful to watch this weekend go the way that it has, especially now that today is senior day, which is emotional as is, and to think that this could be it outside of the ACC tournament. They will be in the ACC tournament, but even then, you're looking at having to start that tournament on a Tuesday. So to survive that, it'd be another 5-5 situation. Shout out to Kevin Keats, but I don't think the baseball team is set up anywhere close to be a team that can maybe pull that off. The pitching, we're sparse right now, as we've all seen over the last couple of weeks. So it's a very somber feeling. You talk about the tenure of Elliott Avent. He is an NC State legend, will always be an NC State legend. You talk about building a program. He has built every last piece of this program, all the way down to the new clubhouse and all the amenities that will be named shortly after him. I wouldn't be surprised if the field or the stadium or something gets renamed in his honor, as it should be. But we all reach a point in our lives, whether you played sports or maybe done other things that you love, there's a passion. Everyone reaches a point in their lives where they can no longer do the thing that they love the most. And whether you get told or you tell yourself, there's a great quote from Moneyball, the baseball movie with Brad Pitt. Everyone gets told that they can no longer play the children's game at some point. Now, extending to the coaching realm here, I think it's time. There is an unmistakable energy that the program needs a fresh breath of air. And whether that's just seeing what Chris Hart can do, the hitting coach, maybe taking over as the head coach, or taking your search externally, whatever it is, you're not going to fire Avent, because you can't fire the guy that built everything that is NC State baseball. But I do believe it is in the best interest of both parties that a new energy, a new start, a fresh start for NC State baseball. We've arrived. We know that the stadium renovations has always been Avent's baby. I mean, it's been long overdue. It's been well-deserved for over a decade, and they're just now kind of finalizing it now. But, you're seeing that those are finishing up now. The team is struggling at this point. I think we're reaching the end of a legendary tenure of NC State with Elliott Avent. So it's going to be a tough day. 2 p.m. Game 3 against the Dirty Foot Club. Praying we can pull out a win to maybe have to pray again next week and see if that's good enough to get us in the tournament. But too many indecisions, too many poor examples of defense, pitching, offense. Like I said, I likened it to whack-a-mole. It seems like you fix one problem and 2 more problems pop up somewhere else. It's been a little bit of a nightmare season, if you will. So tough to watch it go down like this, of course. We'll see what happens today, 2 p.m. But NC State baseball, unfortunately, they might be going out sad. To finish up our Saturday live show, we have Fan Friday on a Saturday. This comes after another quick word from our sponsors. All right, last couple minutes of our Saturday live show. Again, appreciate everyone for joining us here on Saturday as opposed to yesterday. We have Fan Friday, some of our top comments of the week. Without further ado, here we go. First one comes from Sue Simp. They say, what are y'all's thoughts on NC State not making the cut for the first predicted 76-team March Madness bracket? Objectively, to me, this is kind of fun, because we know that NC State over the last decade plus, they've been a bubble type program. So the idea that you're expanding the tournament by 8 teams and then hypothetically NC State is still on a larger bubble, it feels a little bit disrespectful, I cannot lie. But Kenton, I'm kind of taking this on a larger point that maybe the roster that Gainey has built so far, it's going to be underrated. You're going to be playing maybe with not large expectations, which is a drastic difference from last year with Wade thumping his chest and saying, we're going to be in the top 4 in the ACC. Gainey does not get down like that, and I think it is refreshing to see. But hypothetically still, Kenton, even with a larger bracket, NC State would still be pictured on the bubble. What are your thoughts there?
In the words of the late, great Michael Clark Duncan, don't you wish that evil on me, Ricky Bobby? It's almost mind-boggling to imagine a world where this team doesn't make the tournament for this reason and this reason alone. When you think about a 76-team tournament and you think about the landscape of NIL, there is no longer – a lot of people used to joke about it and call it the power of friendship that got teams to be, Cinderellas and advance to Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final Fours as teams where you didn't have the size, didn't have the shooting, didn't have the ball handle, but you had a bunch of guys that played together for forever. In reality, what that was chemistry and one or two really good players, right? Really good college players that did it. In the new age of NIL, that doesn't exist anymore because those really good players, one of two things happen, right? Siena, for example, you could say Siena took Duke to the wire with 5 guys, burgers, and fries. That was all they had, and they took them to the wire. Quick question, Grayson. Where's Siena's head coach?
He's now at Syracuse.
Where's Siena's leading scorer from last year?
Syracuse.
It doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen, right? When back in the day, Hammond would have been in Santa Clara for 3 more years or so, and he would have built continuity with those. He's at NC State now. So Santa Clara gets in over us. What the hell are you doing, Justin? Don't you play with me, Susan. We do not want to discuss the possibility of this foolishness coming to fruition.
Yeah, it's kind of a nasty thought, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, you expand the tournament. I don't know. Look at NC State over here, still floundering around on the bubble. We'll see where this goes, but I'm kind of likening the idea that maybe we'll be underrated. Maybe Gainey will build out this roster that feels doubted. Maybe that will be what fuels them into postseason play. We'll see. But also this time of year, especially with college basketball, but football as well, nobody really knows what any of the teams are going to look like. It's all just basically shooting or throwing darts in the dark. It's just a shot in the dark at this point. Nobody really knows. Like, you can look at Kansas or Kentucky basketball next year. You're just operating on the idea that they will still be Kansas and Kentucky. You don't know what their roster will do when they play together for the first time. You simply don't know. So that in itself, they're guessing. So for NC State to be on the bubble, yeah, I get it. Like, it's kind of ironically funny for us, but nobody really knows what anyone will look like next season. Next comment comes from Robert Cooper. He says, we must build for the future. This is in regards to NC State football. It is imperative that we are successful with Gunner because the optic of him transferring due to lack of talent that State puts around him would be a bad look. Well, bad luck too, to be honest. Yeah, Kenton, when I first read this comment, I got kind of sick to my stomach. The idea that NC State would have Gunner Rivers and then lose him to the portal, that could very well, and I don't want to put this out in the universe, but if that were to happen, that could be the dagger for your boy here. I don't know if I could ever stomach NC State football or sports again, knowing that you could have the prodigal son. You could have Gunner Rivers come to NC State, and you still wouldn't be able to keep him here in Raleigh, and he transferred elsewhere. Like, the idea, kind of what I just said the other day about Justin Jolie or maybe Casey Concepcion. You find a kid, you recruit a kid, you develop a kid, and then you lose them. Think about on NFL draft day. First round draft pick, Gunner Rivers, Alabama. I would vomit. I would lose my lunch the fastest anyone has ever lost it. I would be sick to my stomach. It would be a nightmare, Kenton.
Hey, Grayson, you're not picking the Fan Friday questions no more. I just need you to understand that.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair.
That is official. Locked On Wolfpack fans. I'm sorry. I did not get involved enough in this because Grayson, he's the type of guy that he put together the traps on Saul. That's the type of guy Grayson is. Me, on the other hand, I'm not doing all that. The minute that he get me in one of those traps, hey, bro, do what you got to do. I'm actually done here. You take it easy. But no, in all seriousness, we must build around Gunner. That's absolutely correct. And here's the funny thing about the comparison to the prodigal son, Grayson. In the story of the prodigal son, the father of the prodigal son actually had 2 sons. It was one son who left and squandered his money, living fast and philandering with loose women, as the Bible would call them. And there was the son that stayed home, tended to the field, did all the things, and did everything right. I would argue that Gunner is more of the son that stuck around than the prodigal son. And if you lose that son, you've got no sons left.
Yeah,
you've got no sons left to take on the inheritance there. Because again, another part that was very important to that story was, the son who stayed there saying, "Why didn't you celebrate me?" And the father saying, "Everything here is yours. This is all yours." That's how we're laying out the red carpet for Gunner. We're saying, Gunner, everything you see in Raleigh, brother, everything you see in Kent, it is yours. You are the next in line for this legacy come on and claim it. And so if he transfers, that's one thing. But if he transfers due to a lack of talent put around him, that's a whole nother. That's a whole nother. And that is a serious concern where it's like, what are we even doing here, man?
Right. So that thought actually connects to the last thought. This comes from Toast 803. They say the importance of 2027 is dependent on the success of the 2026 campaign. If 2026 looks like I expect it to be, 2027 should be a reloading year versus a new start. That sets the expectations and demonstrates they are being met. So yeah, like I said, connecting the two. Kenton says this all the time. You know what the best recruiter is? Winning. Kids want to play for a winning program. And so if NC State is able to find success this season in the form of maybe like 8-4, maybe even better, 9-3, maybe they find a way to land Dorn's first 10-win season. Imagine winning 10 games and then knowing that next year the Gunnar Rivers class is coming in. Would that not reset how people maybe see NC State in the next, 2, 3, 4 years? They're like, ooh, NC State might be getting real serious real quickly, bringing in a top 10 quarterback in the country. His last name also happens to be Rivers. We know what that'll mean and the attention that will bring. If you can build around Gunnar Rivers and take this really seriously, because, yeah, it's great you land Gunnar Rivers. It might be arguably more important to build a squad around him because he's not going to be able to do it by himself. You got to make sure that he has weapons, and you can also play a stiff form of defense around him as well. So the idea that you get Gunnar Rivers, that's one thing, but it's going to be super important that everyone else is locked in and ready to go as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And when you talk about not only the importance of success and whatnot, also the importance of raising expectations, right?
Yes.
Like that to me is a very important part of this as well, because expectations raising comes with a raise of perception. When the expectation becomes, 8-4 is no longer your ceiling, that's about mid-season, maybe even your floor. That's a whole different story. But it takes time. I don't think 1 year does it. I don't think just 2026 does it and everything hinges on that. I think it's more so a complete effort over multiple years to get to that 10 wins. And I'll tell you what, if you get 10 wins this year, you're probably going to be in the ACC championship. If you get 10 wins this year,
likely,
unless both of your losses are in conference, two teams that are in that same ballpark of going to the ACC championship, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be in Charlotte. So the outlook of 2026 and beyond, it's a new era, it's a new world, but you still need sustained winning to change the idea around you. Be it for the better or the worse, I've seen it personally. It takes multiple years to change the national perception around it.
Yeah, and like I was just saying about Gainey's vision for basketball, you want to retain a lot of the talent with multiple years of eligibility. The same applies here to football, because the idea of reloading a roster every year or rebuilding a roster every year, you want to be able to keep the most important pieces of your roster so you can just I already said that, but reload and pick up the momentum where it was left off. Like if Dave Dorn and the Wolfpack win 9 games this year, you want to keep around the most important guys, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, whatever it is, retain as much as you can. So the class coming in behind it is just picking up the torch and then trying to advance it even further. Because the year-to-year proposition of having to rebuild, 40, 50 new faces every single season, it's going to be hit sometimes. It's going to be missed sometimes, like we found out in 2024. Rebuilding a brand new team, and yeah, all these names are great. They have had success in other stops. We'll see what they can do. You bring them all to Raleigh, and we'll put this thing in the oven, see what we get. It was a crap sandwich. It didn't work out for one reason or another. The team did not play well together enough. So keeping a core of talent, that's going to be super vital. Like I said, some of the top teams in basketball, baseball, football, swimming, golf, tennis, whatever it is, wrestling, a lot of the best teams are keeping a core of players to build around, and then you cycle in the little things you need after that. So if NC State can put themselves in a situation like that, maybe after having success in 2026, that will also help you build around Gunnar in 27 and beyond. So this season, like Kenton also said a couple days ago, we're on the back 9 of the Dorn career here in Raleigh. So maybe even more, even more new faces and new moves around the program. it's a very vital time for NC State football to find some momentum, hold on to that momentum, and then hopefully ride that momentum into the near future. So that will do it for us here on Saturday and for Fan Friday, and also, like I said, our live Saturday show. Sincerely appreciate everyone joining us. I know, sorry we missed you yesterday on Friday, but had to run it back one last time to close out the week here for the live show on Saturday. Thank you all for being here. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. We'll catch you back here on Monday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.